Yeah, I think that's a good one. And frankly, there have been moments where I would have also felt being challenged.
Hmm.
But just as a background, I have been advising my clients over a 25 years in the field of M&A.
Hmm.
So I always had a practitioner view. Uh,
Hmm.
I think what motivated me to get into the research was, I believe, research and the application of it, they go
Hmm.
hand in hand. They
Okay.
have to go hand in hand. A research is only meaningful if it leads to some outcomes.
Yeah.
And what we do as a management, the actions that we take, they have to be founded on some strong, insightful theories which can come from research.
Yeah.
So I had the action part in my
Yeah.
career. I think
Hmm.
I needed to build on the theoretical. So that was the motivation to marry the base of research with the application in the management decisions, day in and day out. So having said so, as I mentioned, research does take a lot of
Lot
time,
of time. Yeah.
especially it is very vast.
Hmm.
So you just have to be committed, and you have to have that north star, that why
Hmm.
you are doing it. As
Yeah.
long as you can go on to that, whenever you are facing a challenge, I'm sure you will continue to make progress. So if I reflect on it, there were two things I would like to call out, and one advice I would like to pass on, which I got when I started my research journey. And that was when our professor told us that don't think you can leave research, leave the literature review, leave what you are doing, and maybe come at the end of 2 months, 3 months, and then try and do everything in the bulk. It does not
Hmm.
happen.
Hmm.
I think one of the fundamental rules that I have tried to apply myself and the young researchers would be very, they would find it useful, is to do half an hour, 45 minutes of research and writing every day.
Yeah.
See, what happens is, as a result of that, we are able to continue with that thought of learning that we are doing. Because research, you will have tons of material, you will have
Hmm.
multiple studies. So
Hmm.
unless you are able to synthesize those studies in a coherent manner,
Hmm.
uh, it will be very difficult to come to something meaningful. And that can only happen if you're spending time on a continuous, regular basis. So
Yeah.
I think my first advice would be to continue to do your research, continue to do your literature review, continue to do your writing, even if it takes half an hour, 45 minutes a day.
Hmm.
Make that as your habit. That
Yeah.
will help you. That will help you to come to the some meaningful conclusions.
Hmm.
The second thing, which I learned during the journey myself, is to not have a closed mind, which effectively means be open
Hmm.
to, in fact, because, and I think I came into the research with 20, 25 years of experience. So I somewhere felt I knew what needed to be done. Uh, and that kind of can act as a barrier, because
Hmm.
if some new information comes in, you should be open to accepting that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, just sharing from my topic, employees' resistance to change,
Hmm.
and there were enough studies which talked about what are the factors, how can we manage, etc., etc. But there is an emerging school of thought, and there are a few studies around it, which actually highlights the positive impact of this resistance. Now,
Hmm.
historically, we have always seen employee resistance as a negative factor.
Fact.
Now, there are studies which saying that it can be seen as a positive factor because management can use these energy to translate it into something meaningful.
Hmm.
So they can actually, by acting on what employees are, fearing, you
Hmm.
can actually build trust with the employees. And hence, if you flip this whole question, resistance to change can actually work as a positive factor. I think effectively, what I was saying is the two learnings that I got,
Hmm.
which I would like to share, is A, being regular with your research, with your literature review, with your writing.
Hmm.
And second, most important, is being open to new findings that come.
Yeah.
And I was sharing an example. In my case, employee resistance to change is generally seen as a negative factor.
Hmm.
But there is an emerging area of research which talks about how management can actually learn from what employees are being resisting about,
Hmm.
and then take those actions which will help them build trust. So you can actually look at resistance to change as a slightly positive factor,
Hmm.
depending on how you act upon it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, so I think that actually helps me think about that one must always be open and follow the research, follow where the insights and the literature is taking you. Uh, as opposed to just trying to use those studies which validate your initial assumption. So I
Yeah.
think being open minded and being regular are the two things which are
Yeah.
important. So I think I really loved it for two reasons. I think your conferences, the way the structure was, I really liked when we all deliberated amongst our group on the topic that, should we be following the first impression? That was a very interesting management topic you had selected. And I think that allowed us to share amongst each other. So, which as a
Hmm.
format, I would like to, thank you and congratulate you for thinking of this, making it interactive. I
Hmm.
thought that was good. Secondly, it also provided us to have a global discussion
Hmm.
with the participants coming from territories. So I thought it was a good forum, very well structured forum, where we could create our own learnings and share our own thoughts in the group. And it was a meaningful way to interact. So thanks and kudos to you for putting it all together.